Welcome to our first ever 2-5 Convos, and who better to do it with than the first ever Raptors draft pick, Damon Stoudamire. Hey, welcome.
Thank you, Leo, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, it's great to see you, great to catch up with you. For a lot of folks that might not know, which is definitely not the case, but first ever Raptors draft pick, number 7. And when you go back to those days, Damon, remember the whole atmosphere at Sky Dome draft day? There was a lot of conversation who the Raptors were going to pick, and I know you had Isiah Thomas, one of your idols, in charge. What was that whole thing all about for you at the beginning?
Oh, it was, that whole day. I remember that whole day like it was yesterday. Quite frankly, Leo. We get up in the morning. Barring anything happening, I know that I'm getting drafted by Toronto. It was a 2-part thing, and I think that if you did the draft over again, right, Kevin Garnett would have probably went 1 or 2. I would say Kevin Garnett 1 or 2, Rasheed Wallace 1 or 2, somewhere around there. But at that time, with KG coming out of high school, it was still kind of an unknown, so to speak. A raw talent, but everybody thought he was capable. So Minnesota having the 5 pick and Toronto having the 7th pick, I think were the only two teams that really talked about picking Kevin Garnett. And with those picks, I worked out for both of those teams, and both of them said, if Kevin Garnett is gone, I'm going to pick you. So as I look back on it 20-some-odd years later, that wouldn't have been – it wasn't a bad fallback for me to be picked behind the Hall of Fame. So we get to the draft, and, everything kind of goes to form. And, unbeknownst to anybody else, when I was getting ready for the draft in Portland, Bob Whitsitt, who was the general manager of the Portland Trail Blazers at that time, told me that Portland was trying to move up in the draft to take me. So if you remember at that time, Portland did move up in the draft. They moved up to 8. They couldn't get in front of Toronto. They moved up to 8. Kevin goes 5. And once Kevin went 5, I knew I was going to go 7 because I didn't even work out for the Vancouver Grizzlies. They didn't bring me in. So barring a miracle, I knew I wasn't getting drafted by then. And then obviously – there was a lot of build-up to the Raptors pick, and I always go back to the memory. My memory of that draft, more so than me being in the green room, is looking at John Bitov in the back, sitting in the back row, and I could just see him, and he just, when they said my name, the one thing I would say about John is, I know John loves basketball. I don't know how much he knew about me, but I know that he trusted Isiah. And, all I remember is him doing this, and then all I remember is a little kid doing this.
Well, and part of that kid doing that, remember there was all that talk about Ed O'Bannon, right?
Right.
And that whole reaction. But I remember going up to Isiah Thomas and I said, hey, this is not a big secret to me. You're a point guard. And there's a point guard out there, you're going to take that point guard, aren't you?
Yeah, no, it was when I came out for Toronto, it was a different type of thing. I didn't even really work out. We shot a couple baskets, but really I talked with Isiah, Brendan Malone. Everybody just kind of got familiar with everybody that was around, and I didn't even really do too much, honestly. It was the least I did at a workout, but like Isiah told me, it wasn't really about basketball at that time. He had followed me a lot. I seen him at a lot of games throughout that season. And, truth is, I really felt prepared coming in as a rookie. I played again, and that dream team too, that actually played in the Worlds up in Toronto. I had the luxury of scrimmaging against them all summer, playing on the Goodwill Games team. So I got a good opportunity to play against some of the pros and some of the top pros that was. And in all actuality, if you remember, Isiah actually made that team, but he just tore his Achilles, so he was around there also. So that might have had something to do with it also. You know, me not knowing at that time, I had no clue that, you know, there were going to be two new expansion teams. Well, I did know, but you didn't know where, you know, who was going to be there. Two new expansion teams in Toronto and Vancouver. So, you know, he kind of got a sneak peek of me, you know, for a long period of time.
Well, he definitely knew what he was doing. Obviously, rookie of the year, your first year in the NBA. And you know, I was just so impressed how you came in. And like you said, you just seemed ready. You just seemed comfortable. But what was that whole environment like coming to Canada, you know, a new city, a new, brand new expansion team? What was that whole experience like for you?
You know, it wasn't your typical rookie year. From the standpoint, I think that not only was I a rookie, but I think the organization from a trial and error basis was trying to figure everything out also. So you had some people that had been in basketball, Leo, and you were around, so you can attest to this. But then you had some people that had never really been around basketball and the business of basketball and knew how things were run and were to be operated. But the crazy thing about it, that was the beauty of it. I think that everybody grew together. It was a lot of patience on both parts. It was a lot of trial and error. And, you know, me coming in, I had a chance to leave college as a junior, but I never wanted to leave school early because I always felt the maturity factor. One thing that nobody talks about, you know, today in today's game compared to when I was coming out is maturity. It mattered. You know, you were playing against grown men. You weren't playing against kids. You weren't playing against young guys. You were playing against more mature guys, guys who were battle tested, even as second and third year players. So I felt like, you know, coming in mentally and physically, I was ready to play from day one. And as crazy as it sounds, even in playing from day one, man, it was really hard. Like I tell people this all the time. Because it was a lockout season. I get to Toronto, I sign my contract, and immediately we get on the bus to drive to Hamilton because that's where we had training camp. And so it was so different for me because being in Hamilton, you know, I got drafted by Toronto. I didn't know we were going to go away. So I'm in the hotel and when I say we practice like 3-4 hours a day, so you practice from 9 to 12. By the time you got back to your room, it's 1:30, 2 o'clock, and then you came back at 5 because there wasn't any rules back then, and all I was doing was sleeping. I wasn't even really eating, and I was watching the World Series. Look, I'll take everybody back. Watching not the World Series, but watching the ALCS, and it was Alex Rodriguez rookie season. Ken Griffey him and Ken Griffey were still playing together in Seattle, and they beat I think the Yankees ended up winning the series. I'm not mistaken, but yeah, no, that's all I did. That's all I did every day. But it was hard. It was.
What were that rookie year? Again, it was a spectacular year for you individually. What were some of the highlights going back? You know, certain games or certain matchups, things that stand out to you from that year.
You know, third game of the season, we played against the Chicago Bulls.
Hey, I remember that. Hey, I got to interrupt you on this one because everybody, I want to ask you about when you guys beat the Chicago Bulls, right?
Right.
But nobody remembers that first game in Chicago. Right. And I'll tell you what, that's when I'm going, man, this dude can play. He can flat out play. So go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm glad you mentioned that game.
So first of all, we played Indiana we opened the season New Jersey, Indiana back to back, and we played against Indiana and you know, Indiana was coming off one game away from going to the finals, a really veteran team, and I played well against them. And you know, I'm thinking to myself, man, so we going to Chicago, we got a couple of days off, and all I'm thinking about, all my friends are calling me saying, man, you're about to play against Chicago, you're about to play against Jordan. And so, you know, I really didn't put a whole lot into it, to be honest with you, from that standpoint. But then, we get to the game. Brendan's going over the board. He's going over the scouting report and all those things, right? And, everybody has their routine. You're stretching, whatever you're doing. And so what Brendan does is he had a game plan. Then he erases it off the board. True story. He erases it off the board, and he turns around and he said, the first 3 plays, and he pointed at me, you are going one-on-one against Mike. We just gonna clear it out. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah. It was one. My first 3 plays against Chicago was 1-4 flat, and I think I scored 2 out of 3 times. And I had a really good game. I didn't feel out of place. And for me, that moment right there, that was the game for me. That was the game for me that told me, yeah, okay, I belong in this league. That was the game for me right there.
I'll be honest with you, that was a game for me too. I'm watching it go, man, there is no doubt. I mean, the way you came out and you went at Michael, the way you went at the Chicago Bulls team. So, okay, you didn't win that game, but you established yourself. You belong. How about that game where you beat, I think it was March 24th, 1996. You beat the Bulls, 72-win team. What was that like?
It was the best. It was, by that time, playing them, because I think that was the last time we ended up playing them that year. I had a lot of confidence going in, and there's something about a weekend game against a team like the Bulls. I felt like we could catch them slipping. I think that, I think they probably went out and enjoyed the Toronto nightlife a little bit, and to walk in the arena for warm-ups and see all the people. I mean, there were people sitting, Leo, as you know, there were people sitting where they couldn't even see the game. You know what I mean? They couldn't even see the game. They just wanted to be a part of a history, so to speak. So, what a great game. Guys played their butts off. We hit a lot of big shots, and, we ended up getting a win, ironically enough. And that definitely was one of the special moments of my rookie year.
30 points, 11 assists, I think you dropped it. Just so fans know, still the per-game average still stands in the Raptors' history, 41 minutes per game, 8.8 assists a game for this guy right here. So still holding your mark with that with the franchise. But any like what-ifs? I mean, obviously things went in different directions. You went you left Toronto, you had a 13-year career. Portland, Memphis, San Antonio in the picture as well. Any what ifs with the Raptors, especially when you got to see where ultimately it ended up?
The biggest what ifs that I have, is more than anything, basketball wise, we can sit up here and talk about obviously so much, especially with what came in afterwards. But for me, what I learned is I learned business. That's what I learned. I learned business more than anything. And I learned that relationships are everything. I learned that regardless of what a situation might be, and although at that time, it might have felt like that and seemed like that, over time, I think wounds have healed, and those relationships are mended, in terms of what happened in Toronto. But from a business standpoint, this is all business, and I was too young to look at it that way. And as you move forward in life, Leo, you start to think of things more as a business decision. So from a business standpoint, it just would have made all the sense in the world for me to stay in Toronto. Forget the basketball. Everything else just would have made sense. And, now as you move forward in life, the relationships and what was started there, being that I was the first draft pick and what could have been nurtured, that's what I look back on more than anything. And even still, I still have great relationships in Toronto. A lot of the people that I met the day ones, I still talk to them and everything. And, unfortunately, with everything that was going on, or that's going on right now with the pandemic, we were all kind of getting that first year, from the operations staff to the basketball, everybody was getting together out in Toronto to just kind of, just relive a lot of those moments and just kind of have fun and catch up with each other.
What was it like? So the Raptors win a championship. What was that like for you watching that, and then even the parade? I mean, you had an opportunity to spend some time with Kyle Lowry at Memphis.
Yeah.
Kyle wears the Damon Stoudamire jersey in the parade. So you got a championship team. You got this crazy, wild parade. What was it like for you to kind of take that all in?
It was nice, man. I mean, it's to see, kind of the blood, sweat, and tears of the organization. I tell people this all the time. Obviously, everything grows, and to be there from day one and to see like the things that had to happen in order to get to that point. The organization has been through a lot. They went through trying to be relevant to irrelevant again, to winning the national championship, to winning the NBA championship. And, so many people out there, you could tell the pride, not only in Toronto, but across the country. I think that's the biggest thing, and the takeaway that people tend to forget is Toronto is a city and Canada is a country. So what happens is when the Vancouver Grizzlies leave, now Toronto becomes the adopted team for everybody. And that was a win for the country, not just the city of Toronto.
Well, you slipped a little bit saying national championship, because now you're a coach. You're a college coach at Pacific. As a matter of fact, congratulations, West Coast Conference Coach of the Year. Also, Ben Jobe, let me get this straight, National Coach of the Year for 2019-20. That's the top minority coach, an annual award. So congratulations on that as well. What's that transition been like for you? Because I know, after your NBA career, you were coaching and being involved with NBA teams as an assistant coach, and to make that transition to the college game.
Well, I tell you, it's a totally different kid nowadays. It's a totally different kid. But at the same time, too, I have a lot of fun. I've adjusted on the run. You have to adapt. That's the best way to put it. I tell everybody this. I say, coaching, NBA coaching is no different right now. Truth is, without even saying it, the players dictate everything now, regardless whether you're in the NBA or you're in college. From the college, and it's, you can transfer any time without, basically without even telling you. Go back, Leo, back when we were in school, I would have been terrified to go tell Lute Olson I was transferring. And I know you probably would have felt the same way about Coach Boeheim. So yeah. It's changed from that perspective. But you learn a lot. And I learn, and I tell my team this every single day. I say, you guys are teaching me more than I'm teaching you. I said, this is basketball. I said, basketball is easy. It really is. I said, but what I'm learning is how to affect you guys. How to put you guys in situations to be successful. But, with the college game, you're a CEO of the whole business, and that's where it gets a little different. So you have to be careful. You got to have kids on your team that there's character kids. You want to sleep at night. You want kids that go to class, do different things, and it's just totally different from that standpoint. But this year, I had a great group of guys. They were all bought in. I recruit, in all ways, shapes of life. Matter of fact, I have a kid from Toronto on my team that, shoots well. He played well for me. He won games for me. He did a lot of good things, versatile. So I'm able to get in a lot of homes. I recruit all around. And this team this year, how it goes, Leo. They gelled, they came together, and we surprised a lot of people. But it wasn't surprising to me because I see how hard these kids work every day.
Well, I tell you what, the impact that you had, along with the Raptors, the NBA coming to Canada, Toronto specifically, the championship. It's one of the reasons there's so many kids playing the game today. You turn them on to the game of basketball. Canada right now, I don't know if you know, has the most NBA players outside of the United States than any other country in the NBA, and that number is going to continue to grow. And I think one of the things that when you came, if Toronto drafted their first ever draft pick, some big 7-foot monster, right? People can't really identify with that, but they could identify with you. And then you delivered on the floor. So I couldn't think of anybody better to have our first 2-5 convo other than you, Damon. And I really appreciate your time and the impact you had on the game. And again, grateful to have you on and to see you're doing so well today and everything that you're doing.
Hey, Leo, I really do, man. I appreciate that. You know, it's been a blessing, man. It's I tell people this all the time. You know, once you know, you have to know who you are as a person when you step away from the NBA. You know, because a lot of people when they leave, you know, as you know, Leo, because I know you know guys, and you know, it gets hard for them. It gets hard because you know you're not viewed in that same light. You know, but you have to learn how to adjust. And I tell people this: you want to keep living your life, and that's what I've tried to do. And you know, I got great, like I say, relationships are the key. I have great relationships. I still talk to a lot of guys in the NBA, players and personnel, and that's how I stay attached. And you know, I'm good with that. But thank you once again, man, for having me on. Enjoy Florida too, man. I mean, I'm jealous. You know, now it is hot out here in Cali, but the difference between Cali right now, I would rather take that humidity of Florida than Cali because my allergies are killing me right now.
I'll tell you, you know what it's like when you get old, man. My body, I need the humidity, I need the heat, so I've enjoyed it. Hey, listen, great insight. Great chance to catch up a little bit and stay well, stay safe. Good luck with your college team. We don't know how all that's going to be playing out. Everybody at home, same thing. You know, stay safe. We got to get through all this together, and all the frontline workers and everybody doing their part. Thank you very much, and you continue to make our lives better, our lives safe, and hopefully we can all do our part to make sure we do all the things we need to do. So. Enjoy, and thanks.